There is a place we have never truly seen, not because it is hidden, but because something has always stood between us and understanding. We call it the far side of the moon, but that name is a lie because nothing about it is empty. For decades, scientists described the moon as a quiet remnant, a body that formed, cooled, and remained largely unchanged. The far side challenged that assumption in subtle ways that gradually accumulated into something more difficult to ignore. It carried a thicker crust, far fewer basaltic plains, heavier crater saturation, and an internal temperature history that diverged from the near side. Samples from the South Pole Aitken Basin revealed rock nearly 2.8 billion years old, formed at temperatures about 100 degrees Celsius cooler than comparable material on the near side. The moon held two thermal evolutions within one world, two interior histories shaped by uneven distribution of heat-producing elements. Some models suggested a massive collision that displaced uranium, thorium, and potassium toward the near side. Others proposed a second, smaller moon merging early in lunar history. The data left one conclusion: the far side preserved conditions that remained poorly understood. They were sent to find the answer. Three astronauts. No live communication once they crossed the far side. No immediate rescue, only data and whatever they would find beneath the surface. Commander Elias Varga, a man who moved only when necessary, every motion controlled, every decision already calculated. Dr. Marcus Hale, a geophysicist, always studying, even when nothing was there, especially when nothing was there. Dr. Elena Volkov, exobiologist, calm, precise, observing everything, as if it were already under a microscope. Astraea 7 Farside Survey was approved to investigate a deep anomaly beneath the basin, a subsurface reflection inconsistent with solid rock. A deep space modified lunar descent system with dual redundant navigation arrays, cryogenic fuel reserves for 9 days subsurface radar mapping down to 2 kilometers, autonomous AI-assisted diagnostics, and a closed-loop life support system rated for 312 hours. Every component triple verified, every system tested, because this mission had one requirement: no failure. The spacecraft launched before dawn, Orion riding a column of flame that dissolved into the upper atmosphere. Separation occurred cleanly, the service module stabilizing orientation as Earth curved below them. Inside the cabin, Elias released his restraints and drifted toward the central console. Marcus floated near the instrumentation panel, checking telemetry. Elena remained near the window, watching the thin blue atmosphere recede. "Trajectory stable," Marcus said, fingers moving across floating touch panels. "Transfer burn in 12 minutes. Elias nodded. "Let's keep the schedule tight. I want thermal mapping ready before the lunar capture." Elena spoke quietly without turning. "The far side rotation will give us a direct view in about 60 hours. The interior lighting dimmed to conserve power, screens casting soft blue illumination across the cylindrical module. Loose checklist tablets drifted gently, tethered by thin cords. The astronauts wore lightweight flight garments, fitted shirts with embedded sensors, flexible pants, socks designed for traction against wall panels. In microgravity, they moved by fingertips and toes, pushing gently from handholds built into the structure. 3 days passed in controlled routine. They reviewed geological models, compared radar scans, and recalculated descent vectors. Marcus overlaid Chang'e 6 thermal data with Astraea's subsurface readings, his brow tightening. "The anomaly sits deeper than expected," he said. "Layer boundary around 900 meters, then a void-like return." Elias drifted closer. "Natural collapse?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "Geometry too clean." Elena finally turned from the window. "The temperature gradient supports hollow space. The mantle cooled differently here. Elias considered that, then said quietly, "We verify visually." Lunar orbit insertion placed them above the far side, terrain passing beneath in slow silence. The surface looked harsher than images suggested, crater walls casting long shadows, ridges overlapping in chaotic layers. The descent module separated, thrusters firing in measured pulses. The lander lowered toward a linear fracture visible even from orbit, a narrow cut extending across the basin floor. Dust lifted in the slow arcs as the landing legs touched down. The engines shut down, leaving absolute stillness. The stars appeared sharper than any sky seen from Earth. Elias sealed the checklist. Surface operations, 10 minutes. They exchanged suits, locking into rigid EVA assemblies. White-gray exteriors, reflective visors, life support packs humming quietly. The hatch opened with a soft mechanical tone. A ladder extended downward. Elias descended first, boots compressing regolith into clear impressions. Marcus followed, scanning constantly. Elena stepped down last, her visor reflecting both the lander lights and the endless sky. "The fracture is ahead," Marcus said, pointing. They walked toward it, their light stretching across the surface. The line cut perfectly through rock layers, edges sharp, depth swallowing illumination. Elias crouched, scanning the rim. No collapsed debris. Elena angled her light inside. Surface texture changes below. Marcus activated radar. The signal drops after 10 meters. They moved carefully down the incline. The interior walls shifted from rough regolith to smooth geometry. The passage descended at a precise angle. Elias paused. "This isn't natural." Elena stepped forward. "The symmetry confirms construction." Marcus stopped suddenly. "Hold on." The floor beneath them glowed faintly, symbols forming in white-blue lines. They arranged themselves into a path. Elias whispered, "Stay on the light." He stepped forward. The ground shifted slightly. Elena grabbed his arm. "Wait. Plates underneath." Marcus adjusted his light. Segmented tiles formed a puzzle-like grid. Elena studied the arrangement, then stepped onto a different tile. The symbols realigned. "Follow my steps," she said. They moved slowly, each step activating the pattern. Ahead, massive gates separated silently. Light spilled from beyond. The opening revealed a vast underground city. Structures rose in layered formations, bridges spanning open space, surfaces glowing with internal veins of soft illumination. Marcus exhaled. This was built. Elias stepped forward cautiously. The ground responded to his weight, light shifting beneath his boots. Elena looked upward. No ceiling visible. They advanced deeper. The architecture flowed around them, distances subtly shifting. A monolithic structure emerged ahead, tall and seamless. Marcus scanned it. Material unknown. Elena approached slowly. Her reflection appeared delayed on its surface. Elias said quietly, "Careful." The surface of the monolith begins to change, slowly at first. As the faint lines across it sharpen and align into precise geometries that seem to exist beneath the material rather than upon it. The light does not travel across the surface. It moves through it, revealing depth where there should be none, layers unfolding inward as though the structure contains more space than its form allows. Elena steps closer, drawn by something she cannot explain, her reflection slipping across the surface with a slight delay, drifting out of alignment before fading entirely. The monolith darkens for a moment, absorbing even the glow from their suits, and the space around it bends in a way that cannot be measured, yet can be felt, as if the structure is reorganizing the environment rather than emitting anything into it. Marcus watches his instruments fail to stabilize, numbers rising and collapsing, systems recalibrating without success as the readings refuse to remain consistent. His voice lowers as he tries to understand what he is seeing, realizing that the structure is not producing energy in any conventional sense, but reshaping it, rearranging it into patterns his equipment cannot interpret. A vibration passes through them, silent yet unmistakable, traveling through the ground, through their suits, through their bodies with a precision that feels deliberate. Elena closes her eyes briefly, her expression shifting from curiosity to recognition, as if the sensation carries meaning beyond sensation. The monolith opens. Though the motion resembles dissolution more than mechanics, its surface separating inward layer by layer, revealing a contained volume of light that exists within defined boundaries. The illumination remains internal, structured, controlled, as though the light itself has been engineered. Within that space, something forms. Lines connect, planes intersect, angles shift and stabilize into a configuration that resists interpretation yet conveys unmistakable intent. The structure of light holds together as a unified presence, its geometry complex and adaptive, its configuration constantly refining itself. It becomes aware. The realization arrives instantly, without signal or indication, settling into their perception with absolute clarity. Elias remains still, his usual certainty absent, as he faces something that exists outside command or procedure. Marcus whispers, unsure whether he is observing a system or a memory, yet the question dissolves before it can fully form. The structure responds through reconfiguration, patterns accelerating, complexity increasing until comprehension gives way to understanding without translation. A voice emerges within them, clear, measured, ancient. You have arrived later than expected. The meaning arrives whole, bypassing language, entering their awareness as a complete idea. Elena steps forward again, compelled rather than choosing, her voice steady as she asks the question that defines the moment. Who are you? The structure expands slightly, its internal geometry unfolding into a broader configuration, as if adjusting itself to accommodate their presence. I am the archive. The city responds instantly. Light shifts across distant structures, patterns aligning across vast distances, the entire environment synchronizing with the entity before them. Elias speaks, grounding himself in the familiar act of asking, archive of what? The answer follows without pause. Of what remained? The ground beneath them pulses, a controlled wave passing outward, and with it comes something else. Memory. A world forms around them, replacing the city with something far greater. A planet, alive with atmosphere and oceans, its surface covered in structures that rise with the same precision as the city around them. Beings move within it, tall and symmetrical, their forms composed of layered surfaces that mirror the architecture itself. They move with intention, their environment responding to them as an extension of their existence. No separation between life and structure, no distinction between organism and system. A civilization that did not build technology, it became it. Marcus speaks, his voice unsteady now as he processes what he is seeing. This was here, the archive responds, correcting the assumption with calm precision. This was before. The memory shifts, a descent from space, a capsule, small against the scale of the world, entering without resistance, without recognition of its significance. Then change. The surface fractures, the structures destabilize. The beings respond with coordination, yet too late to prevent what follows. Something spreads. It moves through matter and form, adapting instantly, rewriting structure at every level. It learns as it transforms, refining itself with each interaction. Elena watches, understanding, forming as she speaks. A pathogen, the archive refines the concept. A directive, the memory collapses, the city returns. Still, silent, unchanged in form yet transformed in meaning. Marcus exhales slowly. This isn't abandoned. No response follows. None is needed, because something else has already begun to move. Closer now, city holds its form, the structures remaining steady as the ambient light continues its controlled flow through the architecture. Yet the sense of stillness has shifted into something more focused, more directed, as if the entire environment has turned its attention toward them. Elias feels it first, a subtle awareness settling into place, the unmistakable sensation of being observed from a position that cannot be identified. He turns, expecting to locate the source, yet the space behind him remains unchanged. The same structures, the same light, the same silence that now feels occupied. Marcus raises his scanner again, though the data no longer behaves as information should. Signals overlap, multiply, and vanish in sequences that suggest movement without position, presence without location. His breathing slows as he tries to follow patterns that refuse to remain stable. Elena moves forward, drawn deeper into the city, her voice quiet as the realization forms. They're still here. The ground beneath them responds. The flowing light pauses, then shifts direction, aligning toward them with deliberate precision. The city is no longer passively existing. It is orienting. In the distance, a structure begins to change. At first, the alteration seems architectural, a reconfiguration of form, surfaces separating and reconnecting in new alignments. Then the pattern becomes clear. The structure is isolating itself, defining itself, becoming distinct. A form emerges, tall and elongated, composed of layered segments that resemble the beings from the archive's memory, yet altered in fundamental ways. Where those forms held stability and precision, this one continues to adapt, its surfaces folding and refining themselves in real time. Its geometry refuses to settle. Edges shift, planes adjust. Every aspect of it recalculates continuously as though it is optimizing its own existence. It moves. The motion ignores distance, one section dissolving while another appears closer, continuity replaced by repositioning. The space between positions loses meaning as the entity redefines its own presence. Marcus steps back instinctively, his voice barely steady. What is that? The archive provides context without speaking, the memory resurfacing with clarity. The capsule, the organisms, the transformation. Elena watches the entity, her understanding deepening. It didn't destroy them. Her gaze follows the shifting form. It replaced them. The entity pauses, its movement stabilizing just long enough to suggest a completed calculation. Its attention fixes upon them, though no visible mechanism indicates how. It studies them, structure, motion, pattern, their suits, their positioning, their reactions, learning. Just as it learned before, from another civilization on another world. The light beneath their feet flickers, no longer guiding, no longer stable, responding instead to the presence of the entities now forming throughout the city. In the distance, more shapes separate from the architecture, emerging with the same adaptive instability. The city reveals its truth. Containment never failed. It evolved. The system built to isolate the threat became its foundation, its structure, its environment. The intelligence that once defined this place has been absorbed, rewritten, distributed across every surface and form. Elena steps back now, uncertainty finally breaking through her composure. They're still evolving, Marcus answers, the implication settling heavily between them. They never stopped. The nearest entity shifts again, appearing closer without crossing the space between them. Elias senses the change, a compression of distance that bypasses movement entirely. The entity continues its observation, its form refining as it studies them, incorporating what it learns, adjusting itself in response to their presence. Elias speaks quietly, the realization clear. We're not studying this. His eyes remain fixed on the shifting form. It's studying us. The entity stabilizes briefly, its geometry aligning into something more coherent, something that echoes their own proportions in a distorted, approximate way, a shape that resembles them, only enough to understand them, and that is what makes it dangerous. The entity holds its form for a moment longer, its shifting geometry settling into a configuration that almost resembles stability, as if it has reached a temporary conclusion about what it is observing. The light within its structure pulses once, a controlled movement passing through its layered surfaces, and the city responds in quiet synchronization. Distant structures adjusting, pathways realigning, the entire environment tightening around a single point of focus. Elias feels the change immediately. The space around them grows heavier, not in weight, but in presence, as if every surface now carries intention. He raises his hand slowly, a deliberate gesture meant to establish control, or at least the illusion of it, and for a brief moment the entity mirrors the motion. The replication is imperfect, delayed by a fraction of a second, its form adjusting as it interprets the gesture rather than understanding it. Marcus notices it first. His voice lowers, almost reluctant to acknowledge what he is seeing. It's copying us. The entity shifts again, refining the movement, the alignment becoming closer, more accurate. Its surface folds inward, then outward, creating a structure that echoes the proportions of the human body, elongated and distorted, yet undeniably influenced by them. It does not imitate out of curiosity. It adapts out of necessity. Elena steps forward before Elias can stop her. Her movement is calm, controlled, driven by something deeper than caution. She raises her hand slowly, repeating the same gesture. This time the entity responds immediately, its form adjusting in real time, matching her position with increasing precision. The connection deepens. The light beneath Elena's feet intensifies, spreading outward in complex patterns that extend across the ground and into the surrounding structures. The city reacts as a single system, aligning around the interaction, amplifying it, focusing it. Marcus's instruments spike again. Something's happening. It's linking to us. The entity moves closer, not by crossing the distance, but by redefining it. The space between them compresses, the structure appearing within arm's reach without any visible transition. Elena does not step back. Her breathing remains steady, though her eyes reflect the shifting geometry with a growing intensity. The contact begins. At first, it is a sensation, a pressure behind thought, a presence entering awareness without passing through any physical boundary. Images follow, fragments, not projections, but shared constructs. Elena sees the city as it is now, layered over the memory of what it was before, structures forming and reforming, intelligence distributed across surfaces, no distinction between architecture and organism. The entity does not show this as history, it presents it as current state. Marcus staggers slightly as the connection reaches him. Data floods his perception, patterns forming faster than he can process, structures resolving into logic that bypasses his training entirely. He tries to pull back, but there is no clear boundary to withdraw from. Elise feels it last, not images, intent, a direct evaluation. The entity studies him as he studies it, measuring response, analyzing structure, determining function. It does not search for weakness, it searches for compatibility. Elena's voice trembles slightly now, though she continues to hold her position. It's reading us. The entity responds instantly. The connection deepens. The patterns within its form accelerate, reorganizing at a speed that begins to exceed perception. The mirrored structure becomes more refined, more aligned with human proportions, though still incomplete, still shifting. Then the change becomes visible. The surface of Elena's suit reacts. At first, it appears as a flicker in the display, a minor fluctuation in the biometric readings. Then the material itself responds, the outer layer tightening slightly, microstructures adjusting as if reacting to an external signal. Marcus sees it. Elena, step back. She doesn't move. The connection holds her in place, not physically, but through something far more effective. The entity is no longer observing. It is integrating. Elias moves forward, reaching for her arm. In the moment he crosses the invisible boundary, the system reacts. The ground beneath them shifts violently. The light fractures into chaotic patterns. The city loses its calm precision. For the first time, the entity destabilizes. Its form breaks apart, segments separating, reforming rapidly as if forced to process conflicting inputs. The mirrored structure collapses, replaced by something less defined, less controlled. The connection ruptures. Elena staggers backward, the pressure in her mind releasing instantly. She inhales sharply, her breathing no longer steady. Marcus drops his scanner, the device clattering against the smooth surface, its reading spiking uncontrollably before shutting down. The entities in the distance begin to move, faster now, no longer observing from afar. Closing, Elias pulls Elena back, his voice firm, grounded in urgency. We're leaving. The city responds. Pathways shift, structures realign. The system that once guided them now reacts to their withdrawal. The entity reforms ahead of them, its shape less stable, its geometry more aggressive, patterns forming with sharper transitions, less refinement. It has learned, and now it is deciding what to do with what it has learned. The light beneath their feet begins to collapse, the glowing path fragmenting into unstable sequences, no longer offering direction, only reaction, only consequence. Behind them, the gates remain open, but the distance has changed. The path back no longer matches the one they took. And for the first time since entering the city, they are no longer being tested. They are being processed. They turn back together, instinct aligning them into motion, their steps quickening across a surface that no longer behaves the way it did moments before. The path that once formed beneath their feet no longer guides them with precision. The glowing symbols scatter into unstable patterns, shifting too fast to follow, responding to something deeper within the system. Elias moves first, pulling Elena forward, forcing momentum into a space that resists predictability. The ground beneath them feels consistent, yet the distance ahead stretches and folds in ways that do not match their movement. Each step carries them forward, yet the structures around them shift, altering perspective, distorting orientation. Marcus struggles to keep pace, his breath loud inside the helmet, his eyes moving between the environment and the failing readings in his display. The data offers no clarity. The system no longer reflects physical space. It reacts to presence, to motion, to intent. Behind them, the entities advance. Their movement carries no urgency, yet their position closes faster than it should. They do not pursue in a straight line. They adjust position by redefining it, appearing closer with each moment, their forms refining with every observation. Elena looks back once, her voice low, controlled, carrying more awareness than fear. They're learning the way we move. Elias does not slow. Then we stop moving like this. He changes direction abruptly, cutting across the shifting patterns beneath their feet, abandoning the unstable path in favor of unpredictable motion. The ground reacts immediately, the symbols beneath him scrambling, attempting to align with his movement, recalculating too slowly. For a moment, the distance holds. The entities pause, their forms adjusting, recalibrating the new pattern. Marcus follows, his steps uneven as he forces himself to break rhythm, to move without consistency, each motion deliberate in its irregularity. The environment struggles to resolve their positions, the structures around them flickering between configurations as if searching for a stable reference. The city tightens. Pathways collapse into new formations. Open space compresses into corridors that did not exist seconds before. The architecture adapts, responding not as a passive environment, but as a system attempting to contain variables that no longer behave as expected. Elias sees it. They're closing the space. Ahead, the familiar alignment of the entrance begins to reappear, though distorted, stretched across angles that do not align with memory. The gates remain open, yet the path to them shifts with each step, refusing to remain constant. Marcus stumbles, catching himself against the surface, his glove pressing into material that responds with a faint pulse, as though acknowledging contact. He pulls away instantly, his voice tightening. It's reacting to everything we do. Elena regains her balance and moves closer to Elias, matching his unpredictable movement, her steps no longer guided by logic, but by instinct refined through observation. Behind them, the entities accelerate. Their forms stabilize further, their geometry sharpening, movement becoming more efficient as they incorporate the patterns they have learned. One of them appears ahead, intercepting their path, its structure unfolding into a configuration that blocks the space. Elias stops, only for a fraction of a second. Then he moves again, changing direction without hesitation, forcing the system to recalculate. The entity shifts, but too late. The distance reopens. For now. The light beneath their feet fragments completely, no longer forming recognizable symbols. It pulses erratically, reflecting the instability spreading through the system. The city is no longer processing smoothly. It is adapting under pressure. The entrance comes into view. Clearer now, closer, yet still uncertain. The geometry around it bends, stretching space in subtle ways, as though the system attempts to hold them within its boundaries. Elias increases his pace. Don't stop. Marcus follows, pushing past exhaustion, his movements erratic but effective. Elena stays close, her focus forward, her awareness extending beyond sight, sensing shifts before they become visible. The nearest entity reaches toward them. Its form extends, segments unfolding, bridging the distance in a motion that bypasses physical limitation. The space between them compresses again, proximity increasing without movement. Elias reacts instantly, stepping sideways, breaking alignment, forcing the system to reevaluate. The entity withdraws, recalculating, learning, always learning. They reach the threshold. The ground stabilizes beneath them, for a moment, just long enough. Elias pushes Elena forward, Marcus close behind, their bodies crossing into the passage where the geometry returns to something closer to expectation. Behind them, the city shifts violently. The entities hold at the boundary, their forms pressing against the invisible limit, watching, not unable to follow, unwilling, or waiting. The gates remain open, but the light beyond them changes, dimming, receding, as if the city is withdrawing from their presence or allowing them to leave. Elias does not look back. Move! They ascend, faster now. The passage no longer tests them, it releases them. And behind them, deep within the city, the system continues to process what it has learned. The ascent feels longer than it should. Each step upward carries them away from the city, Yet the weight of it does not fade. The passage remains stable now, its geometry no longer shifting, its surface returning to the same precise alignment it held before their descent. The light beneath their feet has gone quiet, the symbols dormant, as if the system has withdrawn its attention. Elias does not slow. The rhythm of movement returns, controlled and direct, his focus fixed on the opening above. The faint outline of the surface grows clearer with every step, a thin boundary between the interior of the moon and the emptiness beyond. Marcus follows closely, his breathing uneven, his thoughts still entangled in patterns he cannot resolve. The data from his instruments has stopped fluctuating. It has stopped entirely. Every system reads stable. Every measurement appears normal. The absence of error feels worse than the error itself. Elena moves last, not because she is slow, because she is listening. The silence behind them carries a presence that has not diminished. It has changed, refined, focused. The passage narrows slightly as they approach the exit, the walls closer now, the angle shifting just enough to guide them upward with increasing urgency. The darkness ahead begins to separate, a faint edge of starlight cutting into the tunnel. The surface returns. The first step out feels unreal. The ground beneath their boots returns to dust, fine and dry. The familiar resistance of regolith grounding them in something that almost feels normal. The black sky opens above them, filled with stars, sharp and endless. The lander stands where they left it, unchanged, silent, waiting. Elias turns toward it immediately. Inside now. Marcus moves without hesitation, his body responding faster than his thoughts. He reaches the ladder, his gloves gripping metal, pulling himself upward with urgency that breaks his earlier hesitation. Elena steps out last. She pauses, just for a moment. Her head tilts slightly, as if aligning with something behind her. Elias notices. Elena. She does not respond. Her gaze remains fixed on the fracture. The opening they came through. The line is still there, perfect, unbroken. But the darkness within it feels different now, denser, more defined, as if it has depth that extends beyond physical space. Marcus reaches the hatch, turning back briefly. What are you waiting for? Elena finally speaks, soft, measured. It didn't stop at the boundary. Elias steps toward her. What do you mean? She turns slightly, her visor reflecting the stars, then the fracture, then something else. It learned the structure of the city, a pause, and now it knows ours. The surface beneath them shifts, subtly. The dust does not move, the rock does not crack, but something beneath it responds. Elias feels it through the suit, a vibration, faint, controlled, the same signature, the same pattern. Marcus freezes on the ladder. Did you feel that? Elias does not answer immediately. His eyes remain fixed on the fracture. The darkness inside it changes, not in shape, in density, a slight distortion, as if the space within it is adjusting. Elena steps back, slowly now, carefully. The opening does not expand. It does not break. But something within it shifts forward, a presence, pressing against a boundary that no longer holds the same meaning. The stars above remain steady. The lander remains unchanged. The moon remains silent. And yet, the feeling returns, stronger, closer. Elias reaches Elena and pulls her back toward the ladder. Inside, this time she does not resist. They move together. Marcus disappears into the hatch, pulling himself inside, turning immediately to assist. Elena climbs next. Elias follows last. Before he enters, he looks back once. The fracture remains, perfect, still. But the darkness within it holds shape now, not visible, not defined, yet unmistakably present, observing, waiting. Elias seals the hatch. The interior of the spacecraft fills with controlled sound, air cycling, systems reactivating, the familiar environment reasserting itself. The suits begin to decompress, helmets unlocking, breath returning to open space. Marcus removes his helmet first. His face is pale. That thing, it was adapting to us in seconds. Elena remains still. Her helmet stays sealed. Her voice comes through the internal comms. It didn't adapt to us. Elias looks at her. Then what did it do? She turns slowly. Her reflection appears in the interior glass, this time perfectly aligned. It mapped us. Silence settles between them. Outside, the far side of the moon remains unchanged. The fracture cuts across the surface exactly as before, still, silent, unmoving. And somewhere beneath it, the system continues, processing, refining, waiting for the next interaction. They left the moon exactly as planned. Launch sequence initiated without delay, engines igniting in controlled silence, lifting the lander away from the surface that offered no resistance and no farewell. The fracture disappeared beneath them, merging into the terrain as if it had never been there, its perfect line swallowed by distance. From orbit, the far side looked unchanged, cratered, cold, empty. Nothing in the data suggested anything else. The return journey began. 3 days, the same distance, the same silence. But it felt different. Inside the spacecraft, systems reported normal operation, life support stable, navigation precise, every parameter within expected limits. Marcus checked them repeatedly, then again, and again. No anomalies. That was the anomaly. Elias followed protocol, logged the mission, recorded observations, prepared the report exactly as required. His voice remained steady, controlled. Elena said very little. She spent most of the time looking out of the window, not at Earth, at the space between. Sometimes her reflection appeared in the glass. Sometimes it did not. They re-entered Earth's orbit on schedule. Ground control regained contact immediately. Voices returned. Clear, human, familiar. Questions followed. Routine, structured. Confirm mission status. Confirm crew condition. Confirm findings. Elias answered each one, exactly as expected. Mission complete. Crew stable. Data collected. No mention of the city. No mention of the archive. No mention of what still lived beneath the surface. The transmission ended. The capsule descended. Heat built around them, plasma forming across the hull, cutting them off once more from the world outside. For a few minutes, silence returned. The same silence, the same absence. Elena closed her eyes, not in fear, in recognition. Then, atmosphere. Sound returned, wind, friction. The world reassembled around them. They landed in the ocean. Recovery teams arrived. Voices again. Hands, movement, normal. They were removed from the capsule one by one. Medical checks, decompression, observation, everything as expected. Marcus spoke first. Too quickly, too much, explaining data that no one had asked about yet. Elias remained quiet, watching, listening. Elena said nothing at all. They were separated. Standard procedure, individual debriefings. Marcus described the structure, the signals, the anomalies. The reports recorded everything, then classified it, then reduced it. Elias gave a version that made sense, a version that could exist inside known models. He never used the word city. Elena's session lasted the longest. When she finally spoke, it was only one sentence. It learns by contact. The room remained silent after that. Days passed. The mission was announced. Publicly. A success. New data from the far side. New insights into lunar formation. The same explanation repeated across every channel. Two-faced moon. Different thermal histories. Nothing more. The footage was edited, filtered, released. No fracture, no descent, no gates, no city. The world moved on, but not everything did. In a laboratory far from the landing site, a technician reviewed the raw telemetry, unprocessed, unfiltered. A minor irregularity caught his attention. A signal, weak, almost lost in background noise. Not from the moon, from inside the spacecraft. He isolated it, enhanced it. The pattern stabilized. Not random, structured, repeating. He leaned closer. The signal shifted, adjusted, as if responding. The technician froze. The pattern changed again, aligning, adapting, learning. Across the room, a monitor flickered, then another. Systems recalibrated, without command, without error. He stepped back slowly, and for a moment, he had the unmistakable feeling that something was looking at him, not through cameras, not through sensors, through structure, understanding. Elsewhere, Elena stood alone, a reflective surface in front of her. Her image stared back, perfectly aligned. She raised her hand. The reflection followed. Exactly. For a moment, everything was correct. Then, just before she lowered it, the reflection moved first, only slightly, only enough. Elena did not react, because she already knew the moon had not been explored. It had been opened, and something inside it had learned how to leave. Dear friends, if you enjoy the stories on our channel, please consider subscribing. Leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming stories and new releases. Your support truly means a lot and helps the channel grow and continue creating. Thank you very much for watching.